Excuse the interruption. I'm Macey Quilving. Johnny, can you admit that you're a bit jealous of the girls being the team to head off to state this year?
I'm Johnny Heisler. We're not out of contention yet, and if we go to state, you can bet that my lifelong memories won't be 3 days of shopping.
Not even for some new ties?
I've got all the ties that I could ever need. They may not be my style, but you can't beat free.
This class is such a ripoff. Why don't the girls get a furnished wardrobe?
Let's put it this way. If he had a personal wardrobe of women's clothes, I don't think I would have taken this class. Hi, boys and girls. Tonight we've got mail time, over and under, and of course, the big finish. But as always, we start the show off with headlines. Macey, the girls won the region tournament for the first time since 1990, when your mom was playing as a Cub. Give us the rundown on those 3 games.
The 4 wins game was a bit scary, as they beat us back in December. They kept it close for a while, but we started pulling away as the game went on when our shooting picked up.
You mean your free throw shooting picked up? Take away the free throws for both teams and you win that game by 1 point. Have you sent the thank you card to the refs yet?
We may have won it at the line, but they were playing very rough and aggressive. Those hard fouls kept us from making a lot of field goals that we would have made otherwise. They took their chances by fouling, and we made them pay.
The Benson team, on the other hand, didn't push you at all hardly.
We had defeated Benson County by almost 40 points earlier in the year. Obviously, they had a great district tournament, but I don't think District 7 has as many quality teams as District 8.
That was apparent even before the region tournament started. There were some people wondering if District 8 might sweep the opening night, and they almost did except for Benson County pulling out a 4-point win over Dunseith. How about that Langdon game?
Langdon was a big concern for us. We had beat them by 20 the first time we played, but we won by only 11 in the district championship. If you just compare won-loss records, we were definitely the better team, but all of Langdon's losses were to teams that were in the top 10 polls throughout the season.
Let me check those Langdon losses. They lost to Park River by 32, and then the next game to Thompson by 26, and then later in the season to Grafton by 13. So they had a good record overall, but when they played really tough competition, they couldn't even make a game out of it. They lost 6 games all season. 3 of those of 6 were to North Star, but to their credit, each time we played them, they made the final score a bit closer.
We knew that they certainly had the potential to beat us. We were the definite favorites, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't lose if we had an off night. But fortunately...
Off night? The team that had the off night was Langdon. They were 3 of 22 from 3-pointers. That's 14%. If they had made 30% of their 3-pointers, they win that game.
And we were 0 for 6 on 3-pointers. So if we would have made 16% of our 3-pointers, then we would have won the game anyway. They had to rely on 3-pointers because we weren't letting them get anything inside. And our perimeter defense just didn't give them many open looks from 3.
Well, I seem to remember that they missed some wide-open threes right at the beginning of the game. We turned the ball over on our first 3 or 4 possessions without getting a shot. If they would have made a couple of those threes early, it could have changed everything.
If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a very Merry Christmas. We won, fair and square. Give us some credit. Maybe talking about the boys' team will bring you back to reality. What about it?
For starters, we soundly defeated Rolette Wolford in the opening round.
You call a 12-point win against a sub-500 team a sound win?
Well, it might not have been pretty. We beat them by 24 earlier in the season, so I guess a 12-point win wasn't something to be overly proud of. But in the tournament time, a win's a win.
Too bad you didn't go for the win against St. John. Do you want to talk about how you snatched defeat from the jaws of victory against St. John?
Not really.
Then I will. It had to be the most exciting game of the season. It looked like all was lost when we were down by 3, and then you had to be taken out after hitting your head. Did they give you the concussion protocol test?
Not that I remember.
Well, they apparently thought that you couldn't do any more damage to yourself than you already had. So they put you back in, and you hit the 3-pointer to tie it.
Shades of Alex Weston.
Yeah, except that when Alex did it, we ended up winning the game, not flushing it down the toilet in the final seconds.
We actually ended up with a much better regional bracket by losing that game, by the way.
Oh, don't try and tell me that was all part of the plan.
We're always thinking one step ahead of everyone else. If you care to hear about the last game, we thumped Langdon by 30 points to get 3rd place. We dominated.
How did it feel to get personally outscored by Dugdale?
I don't remember that happening either. That's it for headlines. Time for a break so we can get Kale and Peyton on the set for mail time.
Welcome back. Now it's
Mail time!
Nolan 6 writes, should all 8 teams be seeded in the state tournament?
I don't think it makes much difference one way or the other, but I'll say no. This year at least, I don't think it matters, because all the teams are good. If there would have been any major upsets in any of the region finals, that would change things, because you wouldn't want them getting paired up with the 4 seed. The main reason for seeding is to prevent the top 4 teams from meeting up in the opening round. Once the first night is over, you only have good teams left. Flip Flop writes, is Region 1 so balanced because there are so many good teams or so many mediocre teams?
Region 1 boys basketball is the only topic on preps that gets any post these days. They're constantly arguing about who's better, but their highest QRF ranking is Central Cass at number 9. Only Region 8 has their top team with a lower ranking, so I would say that Region 1 is a pretender, not a contender.
But if you look at the top 5 QRFs for Region 1, they are all at 26 or better. No other region comes close to that. These teams beat each other, so their records go down. But I think they've got some quality teams that would challenge any region winner. Offense writes, why does the High School Activities Association keep giving the state tourney to Grand Forks?
I don't know of anyone other than people in Grand Forks that want to have the tournament there. The Alaris Center is just too big for basketball games. It seemed dead for the boys tournament when we played in it a couple of years ago. The girls tournament will be even worse.
We agree on this one. In addition to the venue itself, it's just too remote from the western half of the state for many of those fans to want to make the trip. It's definitely a home court advantage for the teams in the east, who will have many more fans to get their team pumped up. That's it for mail time. We'll take another break so Johnny and Macey can come back.
Thanks, Peyton. Now it's time for a game of over and under. Stat Boy Linseth, what's the first one?
Thanks, Johnny. Over under 50%. The girls win the state basketball tournament.
There are 8 teams in the tournament. Mathematically, you've got about a 12.5% chance of winning. Usually you get 1 or 2 teams in there that just don't belong, and you can throw them out of the mix. But that didn't happen this year. Carrington has 5 losses, but all their losses were close games, and we only beat them by 7 on our home floor. So I don't think you can give any one team much more than a 20% chance of winning. I've got to go with under. Way under.
We were seeded number 1. That's got to mean something better than 20%. It's hard to say how that opening round game will go. Fairmount has only lost 1 game, and no one up here knows anything much about them, and their schedule was a bit weak. So I think we definitely have an advantage there. For our second round, we'd either have Rugby or Shiloh. We beat Rugby fairly convincingly, so advantage North Star for round 2. So that leaves us with 1 more game. I would expect either Park River or Watford City to make it to the finals. We've already beat Park River. I'm going to say over 50%. Next.
Over under 25%. The girls have 3 players averaging double digits at the state tournament.
25% is setting the bar pretty low. But then again, all season long, 2 people have been our dominant scorers. Brenna averages close to 10 a game, but you have to remember that in a state tournament, scoring for all teams usually go way down. Even in the regional finals, scoring was way below what these teams were putting up in the regular season game. I think we'll have individual games where we get more than 2 people scoring over 10, but not for all 3 games.
I'm going to say way over. Teams usually key in on our top 2 scorers. What good did that do when Peyton nailed 4 3-pointers in the first half against Roulette in the districts? Peyton doesn't look to shoot, but when teams ignore her, she usually makes them pay. Brenna knows how to get open underneath for high percentage shots, and both of those 2 shoot better than 60% on free throws. I think one or the other will end up with more than 30 points for the tournament.
That's it for over and under. Now it's time for the big finish. Macey, spring track season is right around the corner. Does North Star have anyone that might make a splash this year?
Riley qualified last year in distance runs, Peyton qualified in 3 events, Kristen in field events, and Madison in hurdles. There's no reason to expect them not to make it again this year. And we have some newcomers that might make it for the first time, so the season looks promising. Congrats to my brother in Jamestown. The Jimmies extended their postseason with a win over the much-hated and despised Valley City Vikings.
That's a little harsh. Who besides yourself hates the Vikings?
It's a family thing.
On our last show, we asked whether or not Preps was dead. I think we can officially say happy trails to North Dakota Preps. Forever. Not a single post about the region basketball tournaments almost 2 days following the tournament. Too bad. It was once the best thing North Dakota sports had going for it.
Congratulations to Coach Vogt on winning Region 4 Coach of the Year. Now if your husband can just steer his team to 3 more wins, you might have a matching set.
That's it. We're out of time. We'll try and do better next time.
Good night, knuckleheads.
Good night, Can Do.